Y'all already know what it is, man. Welcome to Box Center. JSmiff in the flesh. And we doing what we do, man. We talking boxing. We is talking boxing, my people. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Boxing is hot. A lot of good fighters coming up. A lot of good champions that have to defend versus some tough competition. So we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that, my people. You know, we're going to start off with Tank Davis because it's been a situation, man, when it comes to getting his next opponent. Tank Davis, next opponent. It's been an issue. It's been an issue. You may recall that at some point, Tank was going to fight Lomachenko. And, you know, what it's been said is that Lomachenko pulled out because they were playing games with whatever they offered. So Lomachenko decided that he didn't want to fight for the rest of the year. So that left Tank without an opponent. At that point, a lot of people, including myself, felt like Shakur Stevenson was the next option. Because at that moment, Shakur didn't have an opponent. Tank now didn't have an opponent. They were going back and forth on social media. And I believe even someone from Tank's team said that they would send Shakur a contract. That never happened. Shakur went in a different direction. He agreed. He signed a contract with the Zone, agreed to go and fight Joe Cordina next. And now Shakur's injured, so he won't be fighting the rest of the year. But Tank was not able to get the fight with Lomachenko. And then obviously nothing even got, started with Shakur. They never sent the contract. The next option, it seems, was El Rayo Valenzuela. Now, why didn't they fight El Rayo Valenzuela? Well, the original reports were saying that El Rayo wanted to rest until February, but Tank wanted to fight or wants to fight in November of this year. And because of that, they were having a disagreement. But Mikey Garcia's brother, who trains El Rayo Valenzuela, I can't remember Mikey's brother's name, but he basically said that Tank made an offer for Rayo to fight him at 135. Now you got to think about this. El Rayo Valenzuela just won a title over Pitbull Cruz in the 140 division. He's a reigning champion. So why would Tank offer him to move back down to 135 to fight? That doesn't really, make a lot of sense to me. So what do you guys think about that? Should El Rayo Valenzuela go down and fight Tank at 135, or should he decline that offer? For now, it looks like he declined it because Tank Davis apparently moved on and will be fighting somebody else. But I'm not sure about that. It seems like there hasn't been an official announcement. So, ¿qué es lo que es, Maño Loco? Saludando, hermano mío. There hasn't been an announcement. So, technically, we don't know who Tank Davis's next opponent is going to be. However, it looks like it's not going to be, one of the people that we want, one of the big names. I want to see Tank Davis with Teofimo, with Shakur, with Devin, with somebody like Liam Parrow. And it looks like we're not getting that for whatever reason. So I don't know why, but it was confirmed by Mikey Garcia's brother that Tank Davis sent the offer to El Rayo Valenzuela to fight at the 135 division. So, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. The guy just became a champion at 140. You would want to, and you got to remember, guys, Tank moved up to 140 to challenge Barrios for that secondary title that he had. So why not do the same, move up and challenge El Rayo Valenzuela at that same division where he's a former champion, because he was a champion there when he beat Barrios, right? So I want to see how that's going to play out. And who's going to be Tank's next opponent? There's someone that was named, and I'm not sure, I can't remember who it was, but no official announcement has been made, so we don't know who Tank is going to fight next. That's the reality. Con José Antonio López, campeón del mundo del 99. Pues usted está puesto para lo suyo, hermano mío. Tire para adelante, que cuando usted esté entrenando con alguien así, hay intenciones de hacer cosas buenas. My people, don't forget to hit that like button. No se olviden, mi gente, de darle a ese botoncito de like. Hit that like button, subscribe to Box Center. Yo, it's straight up original boxing content over here. Like I said, man, when it comes to Tank Davis, I want to see who he's going to fight next. One thing that I want to point out, man, Tank, he's an exceptional talent. We know he has that power that he can end you, swiftly and in devastating fashion. But, Tank 29 years old. He's about to be 30. It's about time we see him with one of the best in the division. I want to see him, get in there with Devin, with Shakur, with Teofimo. I want to see one of those guys step in there, test him, and see how that's going to play out. Because all of these guys have expressed interest in fighting Tank Davis. Teofimo Lopez has said, yo, I want to fight Tank. Shakur Stevenson has been said, yo, send the contract, I'll sign it. Devin Haney, he's already been saying, yo, Tank, let's fight for a couple of years. So, come on now. Come on, my peoples. We want to see that fight happen. Hey, Donny Alexis, saludando, hermano mío. Viene un programa que es 100% en español por ahí, yo lo voy a anunciar, no se preocupe, hermano mío, 100% en español. La razón por la que es en inglés es porque yo lo subo y la gente después lo ve, no es solamente en vivo. But my peoples, like I said, Tank Davis, he's about to be 30 years old. I want to see what he's going to do. I want to see who he's going to fight. I want to see Tank Davis fight a big name. Canelo Alvarez, that's the thing. Look, a lot of people say Canelo Alvarez has to fight the Mexican monster. Me personally, I want to see him fight Bud Crawford. But those are both superstars. We want Canelo to fight big stars. So why is Tank Davis not giving us the same fights? I think the biggest star, Tank Davis, I think Ryan Garcia is the biggest star Tank Davis fought. But Ryan Garcia never won a title. In fact, that was his first title fight against Tank Davis. His debut in a championship bout. And I'm not knocking him for that. To me, that's a fight a lot of people wanted to see, and that's why it sold over 1 million pay-per-views. I wanted to see it. But all I'm saying is Ryan Garcia hasn't been considered amongst the best when it comes to, obviously, he's never won a title. He's never, beat one of the top guys in the division, and that's why. So, I believe we have to see it. I believe we have to see Tank Davis finally fight a big name. I don't know who he's going to fight next, but afterwards, Shakur Stevenson may be an option, because they already said Shakur is going to come back straight up for Williams Zepeda. That was confirmed by Eddie Hearn, and it was also confirmed by Shakur Stevenson himself. He's going to come back straight to Williams Zepeda. So he'll make his return in a title fight, win that title, and now we could revisit conversations with Tank Davis. That's the thing. Tank said that Shakur is on the list. He already said that. He confirmed it. But we don't know where on the list he actually is. We don't know if Tank Davis is planning on fighting Shakur in 3 years or something like that. So all I'm saying is that he should fight him next year. After Shakur beats William Zepeda, Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson is the best fight to make. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing. Yo, I believe that Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez is the only bigger fight than Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis. I'm going to just give it to you like that. I'm going to just give it to you like that, my peoples. When you talking about, Tank Davis, the star that he is in boxing, and Shakur Stevenson, his star power is growing, his haters are growing. When those two collide, that's a mega fight, a super fight. We got to see it, man. It has to happen. And I tell you what, man, Canelo versus Bud, it's a fight that has to happen as well. It has to happen. Why? Because you have a Terrence Bud Crawford who's saying, yo, I want to move up. I want to challenge you. And then you have a Canelo Alvarez who has two options. He has David Benavidez, who, if you think about it, man, Canelo been avoiding Benavidez for how many years at this point? 4 or 5 years? And he has another option, which is Terrence Crawford. Just the other day, he said, oh, Bud is easy money. Easy money. So who do you think Canelo's going to choose if given the option to fight those two? Benavidez, the fighter he has avoided for years, or Bud Crawford, the fighter he said is easy money. And you got to remember, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is backing a fight with Bud versus Canelo. So you know that there's support for that fight. I want to see it happen. I know a lot of people want to see it happen. And, something that I have to point out, this narrative about Crawford is too small. Crawford cannot move up to 168 and fight Canelo because he's too small, right? Yo, Canelo is not a big guy. Everybody knows this. He's not a big dude. Look at Canelo's knockout percentage at 168. The last opponent Canelo Alvarez knocked out at 168 was like 2 years ago. That was a long time ago. His last opponents have all gone the distance. So what I'm trying to show you is that at 168 or higher, of course, where he lost to Bivol, Canelo is not knocking dudes out because he's small at that division. Once he climbed that far up, he's fighting guys that are big enough to take his punches. So, if Canelo is small at 168 and he's not knocking guys out the way that he was doing in lower divisions, why would you think that he's too big for Crawford and now Crawford is going to move up and Canelo's going to be too big for him? I got to remind you that Crawford has physical advantages over Canelo. He's taller and he has longer reach. So the only physical advantage Canelo has is that he's wider. He's a stocky guy. So he's strong. He's going to have an edge in power. But that edge in power, did it help him against Dimitri Bivol? Nope. Bivol was able to use his height and reach advantages to neutralize Canelo's power and made it look easy. The same thing with Floyd Mayweather. Made it look easy. And even when you look at Erislandis Lara, that fight, which it was very close and it was controversial because a lot of people felt Lara won, it was the same thing. Lara used his height and reach advantages to neutralize Canelo's power and his footwork, of course. So you got guys who have those boxing skills, who work behind the jab, who use that footwork, and those are the ones who beat Canelo in 2 cases and with Lara, who gave Canelo problems. So you have a Terrence Crawford who's not gonna move up, and you think that Canelo's just gonna dispose of him because he's too big. Canelo's not stopping anybody at 168. Like I said, it was a couple of years ago since the last knockout he got in that division. So that right there, and look, there's historical data to back me up on this. And I'm sure if you follow boxing long enough, you know this as well. When fighters move up in divisions, as they move up, eventually they stop knocking people out because they're fighting bigger guys. If you look at Pacquiao, De La Hoya, Floyd, all the great fighters who knocked out opponents in lower divisions, when they moved up, those knockouts dried out. They stopped knocking people out. Hey, el fantasma activo, ¿qué es lo que es, hermanito mío? Buen día, buen día. So, yo, when you move up in weights, you stop knocking people out eventually. And when you move up in weight and you're shorter, it's harder for you. Why? Because now you're fighting bigger guys who always have a physical advantage on you, which is they're always going to be taller and they're always going to have longer reach. But they're at a higher division as well. So now they could take your punches, but they hit a lot harder than the guys that you were fighting before. It always happens that way. Oh, every single time. Knockout punchers who fight in lower divisions, as they move up, the knockouts go down, 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 down. Always happens. You can look at the best of them. So when you take that into consideration, Canelo Alvarez is fighting in the 168 divisions. He's not knocking people out. And now Terrence Crawford is going to move up to a division where he's not knocking people out to face him. Where's this narrative about Canelo's too big? He's a small 168 pounder, which is why he's not knocking anybody out in that division. So there you have it. That's my logic and my reasoning why I see Terrence Buck Crawford outboxing and beating Canelo via unanimous decision. That's how I see it playing out. I don't even understand why that's controversial. So many people telling me, nah, like, Canelo's going to knock him out. He's going to wash him. He's going to make it look easy. Like, what are you talking about? What are we talking about? And I'm going to tell you what. Canelo is going to be the favorite if and when that fight happens. I understand that because Crawford is the guy moving up. It's okay if you think Canelo's going to win. He's going to be the favorite. But to think that Canelo's going to make it look easy or that he's going to wash Crawford, that's insane. You just have to take a look at the fighters who beat Canelo Alvarez. Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol. Did they beat Canelo with power? Did they knock him out? Did they hurt him at any time during the fight? Nope. Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol are both technical fighters. Neither guy was a power puncher or a guy that was going to go there to hurt Canelo, try to knock him out. They went there to outbox him and did so successfully. In fact, they both made it look easy. Look at the fight with Canelo and Dimitri Bivol. This dude used his height, his reach, and his footwork. And he offset Canelo's power. Canelo couldn't do anything with him for 12 rounds. Yo, Gregory, what's the deal, my guy? I have been out for a week, man, because I caught a strike from YouTube. And you know how it be, man. They knocked me out for a week. Got back yesterday. You already know what it is, my guy. Let me set you up, man, because you plugged in. You already know what it is. You plugged in, my boy. My peoples, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Join the Box Center family. We talking boxing. If you love boxing, this is it right here for you. I'm your connection, my peoples. I'm your plug. Yo, Dimitri Bivol put the Swiss beats on Canelo Alvarez. Matter of fact, yo, that was the Apple beats. Put it on him. And what did he use to beat Canelo? His physical advantages, his height and reach. And what physical advantages Crawford has on Canelo? Height and reach. So it's okay to think that Canelo is going to beat Crawford. If you think that, that's okay, because I'm sure Canelo is going to be the favorite, like I said before. But to say that Canelo is going to wash Crawford and it's going to make it look easy, that's insane. Like, you got to be wildin' to say something like that or to believe it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Crawford has great footwork, great ring generalship, the way he move around. He's, in the spot that he want to be in. He put you where he want you to be in and all that. So when you're talking about the guys who beat Canelo, what they have is footwork, great boxing IQ. They outboxed him. Floyd Mayweather and Demetri Bivol are not power punchers, and were not going to ever even have a chance of knocking Canelo out. They went there to outbox him, and they did that thoroughly. They outboxed him and made it look easy. Like, if you look at Canelo versus Bivol, it wasn't even competitive. It wasn't competitive. There was no point of the fight where you're like, okay, Canelo might have him. That the tide never turned in Canelo's favor throughout the whole fight. It was a 12-round ass whooping. So again, how do people think that Canelo is just gonna wash Terence Crawford? How? Like, that don't even make no sense. But we gotta see if the fight happens. I personally believe that it will happen, simply because Canelo's options are either Benavidez or Bud. And I don't think he wants the David Benavidez problems. So let's see. Let's see who is he going to decide to fight. By the way, AJ versus Wilder, my peoples. Y'all got to remember, when they was both undefeated champions, that was like the fight people wanted the most. Everybody wanted that fight to happen. And it just never did. It still hasn't happened. The difference between then and now is that both have taken multiple losses. Both got knocked out in their last fight. And, obviously, it's not as big of a fight as it would have been if they fought back then. But you know what? I still want to see it. I still want to see AJ. I've wanted to see that fight for so long. And now I see AJ winning it. I can envision AJ outboxing Wilder and probably knocking him out. But you have to remember, Wilder has that punch that can end it all right there. So here's my prediction. When it comes to AJ versus Wilder, I'm predicting a double knockout. Nah, yo, I'm just playing. I'm just playing, my peoples. I'm not predicting a double knockout. If I had to make a prediction right now, I got AJ winning it. I got AJ winning that fight simply because, he's looked better than Wilder. So I don't got a double knockout. But since they both got slept in their last fight, there's been some double knockouts in boxing. You imagine that, If they both land a monster right hand at the same time, boom, and go to sleep, that would be insane. That would be insane, my people. So I agree with you, Gregory. I see AJ, putting the beats on Wilder. I'm talking about the Dre beats, the Swiss beats, and then the Apple beats. All on Wilder. Just because, Wilder has looked very bad in his last few outings, he's looked bad, yo. Like, and then, when I see him training, I don't know if y'all remember, he was doing like a 360 in training. And then he did a 360 right before Big Bang Zhang knocked him out. That was crazy. Like, was you practicing to get knocked out, my boy? That's what you was practicing for? I don't know. I don't know what Wilder was doing, my peoples. But it looked like he was practicing to get knocked out because he was like, you ever seen a boxer in your life practicing with his trainer doing 360s, talking about boop, boop, boop? Like, that's it. And then he got hurt and he did what he practiced. He did a 360 and got knocked out. Like, you was practicing to get knocked out, my boy. But, Wilder versus AJ, that's still a fight I want to see. No, listen. Big Bang Zhang has serious power. He can knock anybody out. If he catch you, look what he did to Joe Joyce. Nasty work. But, what is you doing? Nigga said, what is you doing a 360? My boy, you trying to get knocked out. That's what you're trying to do. Appreciate you joining me, my guy. It's a very long name. It's hard for me to read, but I see Pro Day 2027. I appreciate you hopping on. And if you want to share your opinion, what do you think about Wilder versus AJ? We want to see that fight happen. I know that obviously they're far from when they were undefeated, knocking everybody out. At this point, they both taken multiple losses. And, they both got knocked out in their last fight. Somehow, some way, I still want to see Wilder versus AJ. I still want to see it. So what do you think? You think it's, that's a fight that people still want to see, and what outcome? Shout out to Hauser from South Africa, Appreciate you jumping in. Oh, we got to talk about Bakoli. Hang tight. We got to talk about Bakoli. It's funny that you said a draw about Wilder versus AJ. Just a few minutes ago, I predicted a double knockout. But I was just joking around. I'm not saying it's gonna be a double knockout. But I do have AJ winning that fight simply because Wilder hasn't looked good, man. He just has looked bad in his last few outings. And then he was practicing that crazy 360 with his trainer. Like, what is you practicing a 360 for? He did a 360 right before he got knocked out. So it's like, my boy, was you practicing to get knocked out? Well, what are we doing? Oh, okay. You see now. Now I see you. You know what you're talking about. Hold on, man. I gotta plug you in, man, because you know what you're talking about. Even even you was thinking double knockout. That would be the most insane thing. You imagine, if they both land a monster right hand at the same time, boom, and just go to sleep, both of them. That would be the wildest ending to a heavyweight fight. Of course, the odds are against it happening, but that would just be insane if a double knockout took place in that fight. We've seen it in boxing, but very rare. There you have it. Great minds think alike. So I'm down with it. By the way, Tank Davis has not announced his next opponent. Teofimo Lopez doesn't have his next opponent. Come on now. Tank versus Teofimo. Why not? Why we can't get that? Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. Tank Davis and his team, they slipping, man. They dropping the ball when it comes to getting an opponent. And I'm going to tell you why. So Tank Davis could have fought Lomachenko. That fell through because Lomachenko said he's not gonna fight for the rest of the year, right? But it's been reported that the real reason is because Lomachenko received what he felt was not a real offer. He didn't want to spend time going back and forth in negotiations, got frustrated and said, you know what, I'm not fighting the rest of the year. I'm going to just rest. So he could have fought Tank Davis. That fell through. At that point, Tank was going back and forth with Shakur Stevenson on Twitter. And someone from Tank's team, I don't remember who it was, said that they were going to send Shakur a contract. So now I was thinking, yo, we're going to get Tank versus Shakur this year in November. But guess what? They never sent the contract. So now we're talking about Vasyl Lomachenko, they couldn't get that fight. Shakur Stevenson, they never sent the contract. El Rayo Valenzuela, it was reported that they wanted to fight him in November, and Rayo wanted to fight in February. So that was shaky right there. Well, guess what? Now, Mikey Garcia's brother said that Tank made an offer to fight Rayo at 135. Yo, El Rayo just became a champion at 140. He's a reigning champion after beating Pitbull Cruz, right? So why would you want him to come down to 135 to fight you when he's a champion at 140? So that fight looks like it's not going to happen because Rayo is not going to go back down to 135. So we're talking about already Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, El Rayo Valenzuela. All fights that could have been made and are not going to be made. And who's Tank Davis going to fight next? I heard it's this kid. I can't remember his name, but he's not a name. Look, I can't remember his name. There you have it. So if that's who he's going to fight next, people are going to be disappointed about it. Yo, Tank is 29 years old, my people. He's going to be 30. You're going to turn 30 years old without fighting any of the best? So now you got Teofimo Lopez saying that he wants that smoke. Teo running from Tank, he not ready. So listen, my boy, I can't rock with you on that, my boy. And you know why? And you know why I'm saying that? Because Teo been publicly calling out Tank Davis and saying, yo, what's up? Let's make it. But Tank don't never say. You know, and I'm going to tell you what. And this could sound like a knock on Tank, but I'm just keeping it real. Yo, Tank be beating everybody up on Twitter. Tank done beat up Shakur, Devin, Teo. Tank beat up everybody on Twitter. He beat up Bud. But then in real life, he ain't fighting nobody. You know what I'm saying, what's going on? So you got to remember, Teofimo Lopez fought Lomachenko when nobody was trying to fight him. Fought Josh Taylor, beat him. Yo, Teofimo Lopez, look at his resume. He's fighting better opponents than Tank and beating better opponents than Tank. So I do believe he want that fight and Tank. Or maybe it's not Tank. Maybe it's his team. Maybe his team don't want to make it, you know. Because it was his team saying, we don't want Shakur. We don't want to fight Shakur. We prefer to fight Pitbull Cruz. And what happened? Pitbull Cruz got beat. So it's like right now, Tank is in the air trying to get an opponent. You see what happens? You the A side. You the A side. You could send a contract to any of these guys. You could fight whoever you want. If Tank wanted to, he could fight Shakur. He could fight Teofimo. He could fight Devin Haney. He could fight any of them. Any of them. But yet, the guy that they said he's probably going to fight next, I can't even remember his name. Come on, my guy. You're about to be 30 years old, bro. 30 years old. And for anybody thinking that I'm hating on Tank, yo, I acknowledge Tank, his talent. Tank is, the type of talent that you don't see often. I recognize that. He got the type of power that you just don't see every day. He got the type of skills, ring IQ, footwork, power in both hands. Tank has, a very, very deep bag of tools. I know this for a fact, So I that's the thing. If you come to Box Center, you're gonna find out I don't have to discredit a fighter to uplift another. I don't do those. For me to say that Shakur is great, I don't have to try to diminish Tank. Me giving you the facts is not hating. If I'm telling you, yo, Tank is about to be 30, he needs to fight one of these guys, it's because come on now. Come on now. At what point? Because fans say Canelo needs to fight Benavidez. Fans say Crawford needs to fight Boots. So why is it that they want these guys to fight the very best who have a chance to beat them? But when it comes to Tank Davis, oh, nah, what happened was this, that, and the third. Why? Why we not getting those same demands? I mean, you could say that he needed a big fight, but the point is that he went after it, got him, and won. He beat a big name. And he's been a big name since. And what he did in a higher division also beat a big name, Josh Taylor, a former undisputed champion. So it's not like he beat Loma and sat on that win to be easy opponent after that. He hasn't been sitting on that win. He's been winning more and winning more titles. You have to see that, my guy. So I just gotta point out, though. I see a lot of people who have told me straight up, nah, yo, Tank is the A side. He could fight whoever he want because he put butts in seats and he sell pay-per-views. He could do whatever he want. So they don't hold Tank Davis accountable for not facing the best the same way they do with Canelo. A lot of people do that. They don't keep the same energy. I mean, Lara is 41 years old, but you have to take something into consideration, my brother. Lara is the classic Cuban fighter. I'm talking about top level guy, right? Have you ever seen a fat Erislandis Lara? Have you ever seen an out of shape Lara? These are the type of guys, bro, that stay in shape 24/7, 12 months out of the year. When this guy's not fighting, he's still ripped. So guys like that, they can prolong their career and keep winning. But that's not for everybody, yo. At 41 years old, most fighters are getting knocked out and beat up, pummeled. Oh, my boy my man with the faith in Christ. So, look, let me respond to that. But first off, bam, my man with the man in Christ, gotta plug you in, my boy. You plugged in. Boom. All of the options that you saying, I like them. We talking about Canelo fighting Benavidez. That's a fight we've been wanting to see for years. I love that fight. And then Crawford with Boots or Fundora, I love those fights too. Now, let me break it down for you. The reality is that Canelo is not trying to fight the Mexican monster. He's not trying to fight him. So the next option is Bud. That's the next option. Or at least for now, what we're seeing that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is presenting. Those two options. As far as Crawford versus Boots, I've been wanting that fight. We're not going to see it. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. We're not going to see it. Why? Because Boots is in the beginning of his career. Crawford is at the tail end of his career. What does that mean? Simple. Boots is trying to make a name for himself, and Crawford is trying to get the most money and enhance his legacy the most he can. That's why he want to fight Canelo, because a win over Canelo will be the biggest win of his career, plus the biggest payday of his career. Boots, right now, he wouldn't even represent a title at 154. Crawford is not going to go back down to 147. That's already a fact. And he wants to move up further. So with Boots, he doesn't make the most money. He doesn't enhance his legacy the way he would with a bigger name. So that's what I'm telling you. Crawford versus Boots, I want that fight as much as y'all want it. Wishful thinking, it's not going to happen. Now, my battery ran out. Now, I want y'all to take this into consideration. Crawford can fight Fundora at the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen with that because they haven't agreed on anything. But remember that Fundora is either going to have to vacate his title, his WBO title, or he's going to have to defend versus Terrence Crawford. What do you think is going to happen? Because y'all got to keep in mind, Fundora was supposed to fight Errol Spence. Fundora was already, it had even been announced that he was going to fight Errol Spence next. But after it was announced that Fundora and Errol Spence was going to mix it up at the end of the year, boom, the sanctioning body says, no, Fundora, you got to fight Crawford for that title. So what do you think is going to happen? Is Fundora going to vacate and go fight and still fight Errol? Or is he going to keep his strap and defend versus Crawford? This is why I'm bringing that up, my peoples. Let me make it interesting for you and tell you why I'm bringing that up. I'll make it interesting for y'all. I'm bringing that up because if Terrence, hold on, let me lower this volume right here. I'm bringing that up because if Terrence Crawford beats Fundora, he's going to have 3 of the titles in the 154 division. He'll be 1 fight away from becoming undisputed in the division, which obviously would make him a 3-division undisputed champion. Keep that in mind. So Terrence Crawford can, 1, fight Fundora next, get that title. That's 1 fight. A 2nd fight to become undisputed at 154. And a 3rd fight versus Canelo Alvarez to finally retire. Terrence Crawford can have 3 more fights, become undisputed in the 3rd division, beat Canelo Alvarez, and retire as one of the greatest of all time. I mean, it could be Fundora versus Bud. However, they haven't agreed on anything. At this point, Fundora can decide to just vacate the title. So it's either, Fundora is going to fight Errol or Bud. Now, here's the interesting thing that I want y'all to notice. Go to Errol Spence Instagram. Errol Spence, his Instagram, he deactivated it. There's no Errol Spence Instagram right now. So what that tells me is that right now, that man is training. He's training hard. He's going in. Because lately he had been out of shape. It looked like he had been partying. The fight got pushed back because I remember they had announced it, then they pushed it back the day. And it looks like it was because Errol may not have been, in shape to fight for that day. I don't know if that's the case. That's not confirmed. But Errol Spence is nowhere to be found on social media. And sometimes fighters go into training camp and they go dark on social media. They don't want you to see them. They just want to focus on what they're doing. So Errol might be focused right now and getting ready for that Fundora fight. So there is a possibility that Fundora is going to vacate the title and still fight Errol. Or Errol could just be getting ready to fight whoever. Like if they don't play out with Fundora, he'll fight somebody else. Because the thing about that fight is that it hasn't been officially announced. Like they said that they were in negotiations for it. And then they said for another date. But it hasn't been officially announced. if if Canelo ever beat Crawford, I still wouldn't consider Canelo as the GOAT. Um, I mean, if he beat Crawford, I wouldn't consider him the GOAT either. But he is one of them. He's an all-time great. I think when you look at Canelo's accomplishments and, his opponents and the people he beat, and you look at the all-time list, Canelo's going to have to be in the top 10. All-time greats, I think Canelo's going to crack the top 10. Bang, bang, boogie. My God. Oh, without a doubt, Canelo's the face of boxing. That's no question about that. And he's been the face of boxing for some years. But you have to understand, at this point, with him being the face of boxing, does he want to fight David Benavidez and get pummeled on the way out? I'm trying to tell y'all, my peoples, that's a fight. Canelo Alvarez does not want David Benavidez problems. He don't. He don't. Nah, he don't need no tune-up. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. He don't need no tune-up. Look, the reason I say that, man, my guy, is because look at it like this, and we was talking about that earlier. How many knockouts Canelo got at 168? And when's the last knockout he had at 168? 2 years ago? So the reason I say that is to point out, Canelo is not a big guy. He not knocking people out at 168. So this whole narrative about Crawford being too small and when he move up, Canelo gonna knock him out. Canelo a small dude. Every opponent he fought at 168 is bigger than him. So that's what you have to take into consideration. Canelo, size-wise, he's wider. He's a stocky guy. He's wider than Crawford. But he's shorter, and he has shorter reach. Shorter with a shorter reach. So that right there shows you. Reach advantage is what Dimitri Bivol used to outbox Canelo and offset his power. We saw it. Bivol made it look easy. Just like Floyd made it look easy. And neither of those guys were power punchers. I got him beating Canelo. I got him outboxing him for 12. I'm trying to tell you. See, what you have to take into account is that Canelo, he's developed into the type of fighter that he needs you to cooperate with him. And what I mean by that, Canelo likes to fight guys who are gonna stand there and trade with him. He doesn't like guys that are gonna use footwork. And of course, he doesn't like that because of previous experience. Even look at his fight with Erislandis Lara. A lot of people felt Lara beat him. And what did Lara use? Footwork, reach advantage, height. Canelo has problems versus tall guys who use their footwork. Even Caleb Plant gave him some problems. Before he knocked him out, Caleb Plant was winning some rounds. How? Footwork, height, and reach. So all I'm trying to tell you is that, Crawford has the height, has the reach, and has the footwork. He has what it takes to beat Canelo, man. Everybody focuses on the 168. Oh, 168, he's so big. But everyone is forgetting that Canelo's not a big dude, my guy. Canelo's a small guy. If you see him next to Crawford, he don't look big next to Crawford. Like I said, he's stocky. He got a wide frame. He's definitely going to have the edge and power against Crawford. That's not even up for debate. But when it comes to physical advantages, Crawford has two very important physical advantages over Canelo, which is height and reach. the two things that he struggled with versus previous opponents. But look what you're saying. 168 shots hit different. So you're putting all your eggs in one basket, which is power. We're holding on to Canelo's power. But again, what has Canelo done at 168? What was his last knockout at 168? So you're saying 168 shots hit different. You're right about that. But what is Canelo doing at 168? He ain't knocking nobody out. He ain't knocking people out. So 168 power hits different, but Canelo being a small guy, he ain't hitting different. He ain't hitting different. He didn't hit. Berlanga went 12 rounds with him. And Berlanga was the heavy underdog. That went 12 rounds with Canelo. And he couldn't stop him. And Berlanga traded with him a bunch of times. So I think that you're overestimating Canelo's power at 168. Look at the stats. The stats show that he doesn't have monster power in that division. He's not stopping people. He's not knocking he ain't sleep nobody. So that's why you're seeing, even guys that he stopped at 168, he stopped them late in the fight. He had to break them down for 10 rounds to get him out of it. So again, why would you think that a guy who's small in the division, who's not stopping opponents in the division, all of a sudden when Crawford move up, he's too big for Crawford? We gotta take that into consideration. And I tell you what, yo, and I've been saying it. When fighters move up in divisions, what happens with their knockout percentage? It goes down. Look at every great fighter that you could think of. What happened when Manny Pacquiao moved up to 147? He stopped knocking people out. What happened with De La Hoya when he moved up to 154? He stopped knocking people out. Why? Because eventually you move up and that's it. You're fighting bigger guys that you can't stop anymore. Canelo at 168 is at a division where he can't stop guys like he used to anymore. That one punch in the second or third, fourth round, boom, go to sleep. He ain't doing that at 168. That's over. He got to fight these guys. So Crawford is going to meet him in a division where he's not stopping people. Why are you thinking that he's too strong for Crawford just because of that number, 168, 168? He's not stopping nobody at 168. Everybody's talking like Canelo is brutalizing, sleeping, folding opponents in the division. He's not. He's going the distance. So Canelo Alvarez versus Bud Crawford is a fight that is going to break down to skill. He's going to boil down to who's going to outbox who. The judges are. So Bam Bam Boogie, let me say something about your point. That's a good point that you made about Tito. However, I'm going to dispute that and I'm going to tell you why. Tito was a weight bully at 147. He was mad big. He a big 147 pounder, and he stood there for a lot of years. In fact, he has the second most defenses at 147 in history. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know he has over 10 defenses at 147. So when he moved up to 154, he was able to knock people out because he was a big dude. Yo, Trinidad was a big dude. But now, look at the difference. When you look at Trinidad, with the guys he knocked out, he was just as big as them. But look at Canelo. Little ass Canelo in front of the 168 opponents that he not knocking out. They all way bigger than him. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Trinidad was able to move up to 154 because he was a big dude. But Canelo, look what happened to Canelo when he moved up to 175. Got beat up easily by Bivol. And Trinidad, man, he's one of the greatest. You know, I'm talking about all time. To me, Trinidad is an all-time great. He's arguably the best welterweight fighter of all time. He never lost a fight in the welterweight division and fought some serious opponents. So I love Tito Trinidad, man. That's my guy. Shout out to Tito Trinidad. But he was a big dude, man. Tito Trinidad's a big guy. So at welterweight, yo, if you look at Tito, you know, early in his career in the welterweight division and throughout, you know, his time there, yo, most of the time he was the bigger guy in the ring. Guys look small in front of him. He was a big welterweight. Tito Trinidad was like an Errol Spence. Big welterweight. So that's why he moved up to 154. He was able to still knock people out. But then what happened when he moved up after that? Look what happened when he fought Bernard Hopkins. Yo, Bernard Hopkins, it's not just that he beat up Trinidad, like beat him up. Like it was a beatdown. But yo, Trinidad's best punches, yo, Bernard Hopkins ate those things like they was chocolate chip cookies. Like nothing. Why? Because at that point, Trinidad had moved up enough divisions that he's fighting bigger guys, physically bigger guys. So he couldn't do nothing with Bernard. Nothing. Yeah, yo, Trinidad, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, great fighter. You see him now, and he always interacts with younger fighters. You see that he supports young fighters. You see him in Puerto Rico, you know, visiting their amateur programs and talking to their amateur fighters and up and coming professional fighters. So you can see that Trinidad has been very supportive when it comes to boxing. And he's a great guy overall. You can see it. As well as a great champion. Yeah. You're right. Because, in fact, I've seen him in a basketball game where, you know, they named it to him like it was an event that he put together, something like that. Yo, Trinidad's a great guy. Was a great fighter. And like I said, man, to me, one of the best, or arguably the best welterweight of all time. Arguably. Now, Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. That fight has to happen, my peoples. I'm hoping that it happens next year. So check me out, my peoples. First of all, I want to give y'all a shout out for dropping on, coming on with me, talking boxing. I appreciate you, my peoples. Of course, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to Box Center. Shout out to Bang Bang Boogie. Shout out to a man with a faith in Christ. You know, shout out to El Fantasma de Geraldo Ledin. You know, shout out to all my peoples who always come through and check me out, you know, talk boxing with me. Y'all already know what it is. Box Center, the show at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Mondays through Fridays. So tonight, we're going to be on 9 p.m. Come through. We're going to talk boxing. We're going to do what we do, my peoples. I appreciate you jumping on with me. You already know. Box Center. Your favorite boxers. Favorite boxing show. Peace.